Hi, I'm Misa Ramirez. Today we're talking with Amy Kathleen Ryan, the author of several books, including Shadow Falls, Vibes, and her newest release, Zen and Xander Undone. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, thank you for having me, Misa.
I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to hear about your newest release, Zen and Xander, but I'd love to hear about your other books as well and how you got your start in writing for teens.
Oh, well, sure. Well, let's see. My first book came out in 2005 with Delacorte Press, and I got a pretty good critical reception. It was called Shadow Falls, and but it just didn't sell very well, so it kind of went underground. And I used that experience to sort of learn how to capture the attention of the YA reading public and sort of rethought my approach and ended up coming up with Vibes, which has sold pretty well. I'm very happy with it, and it's about a psychic teenager, and it's written in a very humorous voice, and it's sort of about how she comes to terms with being psychic in a world that isn't always a very nice place, and sort of accepting that maybe some of these vibes she thinks she's receiving are not all that reliable. Maybe things aren't as bad as she thinks.
Very interesting. So she, can you tell us a little bit more about her psychic abilities? Is it
She can,
specific?
yeah, she can hear other people's thoughts. She can't really tell the future or anything. But sort of through the course of the book, you start to realize that maybe some of the things she thinks are other people's thoughts might actually be her own.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of about, that concept of projecting your thoughts onto other people, and I just give it a twist.
And so Zen and Xander Undone is about two sisters, right? I
Yeah.
love your covers. They're
Oh,
really
thank you. I know my
striking.
Houghton Mifflin does such a great job. I just think they're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zen and Xander Undone is about two sisters. One of them is a slutty scientific genius, and the other one is a girl who has a black belt in karate, and she likes beating up boys. So that's kind of the two personalities. And they go on a road trip in the book to try and solve a mystery about their late mother's past.
Oh, interesting. Where do they go? Where do they end up?
Oh, I don't know how much I want to give away. They go on a few different journeys, actually. There's one to try and pick someone's brain, and then they eventually find someone, and they leave on this cross country road trip without telling their parents, and so
Oh,
there's a little bit of
interesting.
misbehavior in there.
So, how hard do you find it to tap into the YA mindset, so that your books are really speaking to teens?
To be honest, I actually try not to worry about the difference between me as an adult and my readers. I actually, because the truth is, I don't actually feel that different from the way I felt when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel, butterflies and in my stomach when I'm nervous, and I still feel self-conscious and unsure of myself, and I actually think those are universal human experiences that never really go away entirely. And so I actually try and find what everybody of all ages have in common, and I write about that. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I absolutely agree that as you get older, you don't necessarily feel like you're getting older. You feel the same.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Now, Zen and Xander Undone, does that have any paranormal element in it, like Vibes does?
It does, but it's sort of similar in the way that it with Vibes, you never really know for sure that Christy is psychic, and in this book, Zen is haunted by her mother. So, her mother comes from beyond the grave and says all the annoying things mothers say. But, Zen's never really sure if it's her mother talking or if it's just her imagining talking to her mother. And I actually feel like that happens a lot when you lose someone. You never stop, you talk to them. You continue to talk to them and try and imagine what they would say back to you. And so I thought it was sort of fun to play with the idea that maybe you really are talking to these people who are no longer with us.
Okay, that's really interesting. And so, Vibes did really well, and Zen and Xander has just been released recently. Is that right?
That's right. It came out on May 3rd.
Oh, really recently?
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, what's next for you?
Well, I've always got something in the offing, and who knows what's going to hit bookstore shelves next. But I've got a science fiction novel that it has a working title of Children of the New Hope, but I don't know what it'll be called when it gets published. My agent has that now, and she's getting ready to send it out.
And that's for YA audiences as well, or is that okay?
Yeah, it is. It's a space opera. It's set in space. It's about two spacecraft in deep space where no one can ever reach them. You know, they're really on their own, and one spacecraft attacks the other. Huh. And they're supposed to be allies. They're people on their way to colonize a distant planet, but, one craft turns on the other. So it's sort of about how these characters, Waverly Marshall and Kieran Alden, how they cope with these attacks. So that's sort of the idea. And then the book I'm drafting right now is called Revolution Teen, and it's about a shoplifter.
Oh, that's a great title.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that one I think might actually stick with the book. I don't know. You never know what your publisher is going to want, though.
So were Vibes and Zen and Xander Undone, were those your titles, or did the publisher switch them up?
Vibes started out as Trials of a Teenage Telepath.
Oh, that's good, though. I like that.
I liked it, too, but they thought it was a little on the old-fashioned side, sort of 1950s sounding. Uh-huh. And I guess it is.
Well, Vibes, it has a little edgier feel to it.
Yeah, it does. I think that the protagonist she's kind of an angry teenager.
What teenager isn't?
Well, what adult for that matter. We've all got our baggage.
I have a few teenagers in my house.
Then so she's angry, so she's edgy. I think that makes her really edgy.
And what about Zen and Xander Undone? Would you say that's got a little edge to it as well? I mean, that's really the trend of YA today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two schools of thought in children's literature. There's the school of thought that we need to protect kids from knowing about all the bad things that are out there. Mm-hmm. And some parents really feel that way, and that's okay. That's totally their decision. But there's another school of thought that says maybe books are a good place for kids to learn about what can be dangerous out there. And I sort of fall into that category. I feel like I don't limit myself in what I write about, and it's really up to teens and parents to decide, if they're ready for it. Mm-hmm. And, and I completely respect, I think the only thing I can do is try and create stories and characters that are true to life. And so you ask about this book, it's pretty edgy because Xander is definitely engaging in some very high-risk behaviors. Mm-hmm. Boys and drugs and parties and doing all kinds of stuff she should not be doing. And it's told from the point of view of the more conservative girl of, Zen, who doesn't actually approve. So I feel like the tone of the book is appropriate, but, some parents might not be crazy about some of the things that the characters are doing. Although I will say that, Xander figures things out by the end. She starts to realize what's working and what isn't, and what's important. And
I think that's kind of key. And what I've observed, you have the extremes, the YA books that really almost glamorize those behaviors and don't have a theme where there's some sort of coming back to, that safety net or reality, versus it sounds like what yours is, which has the underlying themes of, this is not so glamorous. This is not so okay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be preachy either. Mm-hmm. Because kids
aren't going to respond to that.
No, they won't respond to it, and it's not really fair, I think, as a novelist, to be too heavy-handed in imposing my values on someone else. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you're really going to speak to your reader, you need to be you need to let them feel open to whatever interpretation they have of what's going on in the book. You can't be too controlling of your reader, especially a teen audience. They won't go for that.
Right. Very interesting. Well, I think your books sound fabulous, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, and wish you lots and lots of luck with Zen and Xander Undone and the rest of your upcoming projects.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.